I will send my messenger who will prepare the way before me. Then suddenly the Lord you are seeking will come to his temple. The messenger of the covenant who you desire will come, says the Lord Almighty. But who can endure this day of coming? Who can stand when he appears? For he will like a refiner's fire or a launderer's soap. He will sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver. Then the Lord will have men who will bring him offerings of righteousness. And the offerings will be acceptable to the Lord, as in days gone by, as in former years. So I will come to put you to trial. You have said, it is futile to serve God. What do we gain by carrying out his requirements and going about like mourners before the Lord Almighty? But now we call the arrogant blessed. Certainly evildoers will prosper, and even when they put God to the test, they will get away with it. Then those who revered the Lord talked to each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll of remembrance was written in his presence concerning those who revered the Lord and honored his name. On that day I will act, said the Almighty Lord. They will be my treasured possession. I will spare them, just as the Father has compassion and spares the sons who serve him. And you will again see the distinction between the righteous and the wicked, between those who serve God and those who do not. For surely the day is coming, it will burn like a furnace, and the arrogant and evildoer will be as stubble. And the day is coming, will set them on fire, says the Almighty Lord. Neither root nor branch will be left of them. But for you who revere my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise within its healing rays, and you will go out and frolic like well-fed calves.
Today's reading is from the prophecy of the New Covenant, Testament of the New Covenant. The prophecies entrusted into the care of the new community have been revealed for the good of the human race. The old religions emphasized worship of God through rite and ceremony, sacrifice and appeasement, fear and law, expectation, and hope. In the new golden age of light, God has manifested so that the races might have knowledge of the divine. The human family, as a species of the earth, has not shared that divine knowledge of the Creator, possessed by holy ones of former religious periods of recent epochs. Thus, God is as a stranger to the human family. But God would that the whole family know him. For this reason, the image and the word have appeared as a great sun, radiant with knowledge of the divine. If the human race follows the way revealed to the community, it can walk in fellowship with God. But it must live the way for the sake of the souls of men and women, for no human alone can assume control over the creative powers that brought the universe into existence and that sustain it. The holy ones have guarded the secret of the means used by them in the Son, revealing it only to those disciples living the way under oath, ready to lay down their physical lives, rather than divulge the secret to the worldly minded. For they would not that the people harm themselves or the creation. The ancient story of Adam and Eve in the garden reveals the reasons for this security. For if the innocent and the worldly minded eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the apple that symbolizes the material sun, with its forces of darkened intellect, they are consumed. Only those holy ones who eat of the tree of life, that bears the true fruit, the bread of life, know God and resist the great temptation, which is to make themselves equal with God. If the great temptation were not real, the world with its grievous ways would not be as it is. All from individuals to governments delight in the vanity of self-rule, rejecting God from their lives and the world. Because of the vows taken not to profane holy ground and not to corrupt the innocent, to avoid harming the cosmos, no goodly one would lead the vain to that gateway where lurks the prince of lies. The time has now come for the religions of the old to be instructed in the true way, come as a gift from God at his appearance. It is therefore ordained that a new covenant be established between the goodly peoples of the world and God. God would that people unify with him by means of the image and the word. The new religion teaches the way by which this union may be realized. The creation, in all its vast and endless states, is ruled by a divine intelligence, the original true cause that regulates by supernatural and natural laws in effect. These laws are manifest in the states of creation under the powers and forces present in radiation, impinged upon various forms of life that include sun, stars, planets, and organisms, large and small, collectively and separately, that exist in the state or condition in which they are found. These states and conditions of living things are beyond human comprehension, just as is divine intelligence. For lack of better definition, religions call the divine intelligence God. Their theological description of God assumes many forms. Some conceive God to be a supreme being with anthropomorphic qualities, as a ruler of heaven and earth, with divergent natures and qualities, or as a personal God to whom they worship and invoke through sacrifice, prayer, and ritual. These monists are opposed by older religions, which conceive God to be a plurality of beings, a divinity of complex entities. Still other religions see God as an omnipotent deity, an impersonal force that is more an abstraction than a being. In all cases, religions claim God to be their own, and their adherents to be the chosen. Many states have assumed omnipotent status through religions of materialism that evict the divine power from the world, claiming sovereign rights over the peoples whom they rule by secular law. Such omniscient materialism teaches that truth is gained only by secular means, and it rejects the godhood of humans who are the bearers of the human spirit. In the present state of the world, divided and confused, the light spirit of man is threatened to be seized by evil and to come under its total influence and power, because the powers of darkness are incarnate in the darker nature of the human spirit and thrive on ignorance. If allowed to seize the light spirit, darkness will defeat and overthrow religion, and the powers of light that can favorably influence the light spirit of the human race will be expelled from the earth forever. It is the will of God that the human race not be abandoned and given over to the rule of evil doers under the dominion of darkness. For darkness is the first cause of the fall, man's descent into matter. For this reason, God has appeared out of the light and has manifested his image incarnate within the Word. This appearance of the divine and the manifestation of intelligent substance within the great light of God can be observed by the Spirit in the first degree. But in the second degree, it is apparent by the human senses of perception within the light and the radiation of the sun. By first and second degrees, the human race in union with God is able to overcome the power of darkness and the secular powers of the earth. By union with God, those reborn of spirit will share God's kingdom, which reigns without end. The reborn of spirit, made living souls by the great light, become one with God. The varied states and conditions of creation, of which the earth is one under the sun, come and go in expansion and contraction, a coming and going, a perpetual pulse of life streaming out of the Godhead and returning to the Godhead from perfected or chaotic states that vary in degrees. The governments and religions of mankind, the races, the cultures, and societies existing on the planet, that, like all mortal things of the material universe, must assume various forms and shapes and eventually become absorbed in the stream of existing creation. Yet they believe themselves important during their own lifetimes. They reject God or speculate on God because of their vanity and egotism, which have separated them from the mainstream of permanent existence and have isolated them from the divine. They are not aware that whatever their attitudes or beliefs, they have isolated themselves from the Godhead. Life is short for individual, race, civilization, planet, solar system, galaxy, clusters, bodies of masses, space, time, regardless of the dimensional state, either material or spiritual. As life moves on, the divine remains. God rules. Permanence is not altered by impermanence. If the human spirit does not unify with God during that human's lifetime, it will not unify after death. If the earth perishes, it will not reappear again in the same state. This is true also for the sun, the galaxy, and the whole of the material universe. And yet nothing is lost through change, for the divine remains. God rules. What is lost is only that which was already lost from the divine and from God. It was outcast, fallen, descended, generated, expanded outward from that which is the unified one. What human intellect can understand or accept that mortal life and the earth inhabited by that life are degenerate and removed from the divine? God is not the author of the earth. He neither created it, nor does he rule it. And yet the earth, like everything in creation, is sustained by God. What human intellect can understand or accept that the existing religions of the world are ignorant of God, that human governments are destined to destroy the earth over which they rule, and that these governments are the offspring of error? That is, they are unruly and disobedient. The material universe, like the human race, is foreign in the light of God's divine creation. The Spirit exists in a world of light where all is immortal. The outcast human race, a race that suffers, endures pain, grows old, and dies, looks upon the material world as beautiful and gives thanks to a God who fashioned the race after his own image. The race is ignorant of the fact that this God is Satan, the author of evil, the same who cast down the race into the dust, making it mortal, and that in so doing he separated first the race and then the world from the divine. Satan, also called by other names, is an object of religious worship. Satan is a god of war and violence. He is a god who causes blood to flow, who demands obedience to the written law, who is jealous and wrathful, and who demands adoration. All must submit to him, are put to evil use, or made to serve secular or religious powers of the earth, and if necessary, all must be degraded and abused. Satan makes the meek of the earth to humble themselves to wicked and unrighteous rulers and powers, so that later generations may be made to submit to darkness. He causes the holy ones and prophets to be killed, teaching that this killing is good and just, and that it is done for the killer's sake, and that in order to serve his own ends, he then elevates the killers to be instruments of his dark will. What human intellect can understand or accept that there exists an evil power that rules the earth, leading to its own destruction, and that the races of the world elevate this power to the station of absolute ruler? None but the enlightened, those who possess a spirit reborn, a conscious soul, by God's image and word, can comprehend the truth. The source of this enlightenment is not any earthly power or force of nature. Holy ones enlightened by God's image and word have always taught of this one source. The evil one has succeeded in overcoming the holy ones by the force of darkness, which rules the earth. No matter how good or meek the holy ones might be, no matter how righteous or virtuous, or how inspired of God they may be, darkness has power over these holy ones, just as it did over the person of the child. For he could not endure the pain and agony existing in a world under the sovereign power of the dark one. The child's purpose was neither to live long nor to assume power or station, but rather to teach by example, so that the races of the world might learn from it. To instruct the ignorant in wise things is most difficult. Though each holy person has exemplified the way, instructing and expounding on things divine, only a few, certainly not the greater number in the world, have benefited by that instruction. And yet the few who have understood make worthwhile the pain and agony suffered while instructing, for knowledge that some will live forever erases that pain and agony from memory.